special meeting of the Plaquemines Parish Council on October 29th. Time now is 4:56. We'll start off with roll call. Barb?
Councilman Griffin?
Here.
Councilman Gooey?
Here.
Councilman Burris?
Here.
Councilman Edgecombe?
Here.
Councilman Turner?
Here.
Councilman Lapine?
Here.
Councilman Hinckley absent. Councilman Marinovich absent. And Councilwoman Cooper absent.
Well, who's standing for a prayer, please? We take this moment to acknowledge Almighty God and thank Him for our bountiful blessings, especially for this parish natural resources. We give thanks to God for our brave and courageous men and women in our military who daily risk their lives to protect our precious freedom, and we pray for our world leaders to know how to attain world peace. We also pray that this government body, comprised of both council and administration, will always serve our parish with honesty, humility, and equality to all. And as this government body gathers here today, we pray for the wisdom to know right from wrong and the courage to do which is right. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. You want to stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, welcome, gentlemen. Dispense with the roll call. We have no bids, advertisements, beer or liquor license. Anyone? We have none. All right, we'll go to building permits. We have 3 construction permits in front of you. I'll read them off. Chevron Oronite plant, installed 351 12-inch diameter by 80-foot steel piles for foundation support for installation of 6 above-ground storage tanks. Install 33 Chevron Oronite, 482, Chevron Oronite, installed 33 12-inch diameter, 50-foot long wooden piles foundation support for installation of 2 new filters. 483 Chevron Oronite plant bell chase, plug and abandon existing monitor well and install permanent monitor well. We'll take these in globo. I'll offer. Next by second. Second by Mr. Edgecombe. Mr. Turner will be present and not voting. Do you have any questions? Mr. Palazzo, all these are up to date, everything's checked off.
It's my appreciation, that's correct. And just for clarification purposes, we're going forward the same way it was done before, where all the departments are looking at them, all the departments are checking them out. And the only additional thing that we're doing, because we were asked to supervise permits and zoning, is that Mario, who has 8 years of oil and gas, and also has a master's degree in health and hygiene, is reviewing each and every one of them as an additional review. That's it.
Okay. Any other questions? Audience? All right, Ms. Mark, call the vote, please.
Councilman Griffin?
Yeah.
Councilman Gooey? Councilman Burris?
Yes.
Councilman Edgecombe?
Yes.
And Councilman Lapine?
Yes.
We have 5 yes, no nos, and 1 abstain.
Okay, and permits are granted. Okay? We'll move on to introductions. Mr. Griffin, do you have any?
Yeah. No introduction.
Mr. Gooey? No, none. Mr. Burris?
None.
Mr. Turner?
I have none.
Mr. Edgecombe?
No, sir.
All right, I have one. A resolution establishing the dates and time. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong one. Oh, that's the one we're doing today. I do have one, but thank you, Bob. All right, a resolution authorizing the parish president, William Billy Nungesser, to prepare and execute the documents and agreements required in the submission of an application for funding of Plaquemines Parish Hurricane Isaac Recovery Plan, to enter into and execute a cooperative endeavor agreement between the Plaquemines Parish government and the State of Louisiana Division of Administration, Office of Community Development, OCD, and to sign all documents and on act on behalf of the Plaquemines Parish in all matters pertaining to the Hurricane Isaac Community Recovery Program, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And that's the only one I have, no other ones. Okay, we'll move to ordinance and resolutions on second reading and final passage. Before we move to that, Mr. Rathborn, do we have to read this, or we have to try to suspend the rules to move it?
Yeah, you have to just
Suspend the rules. Okay, there is a resolution on the table. It hasn't exactly sat over 7 days, is that true? So we'll have to ask for suspension. So we're gonna vote on suspension first. Ms. Morcott, would you call the vote?
Councilman Griffin?
Yeah.
Councilman Gooey?
Yep.
Councilman Burris?
Yes.
Councilman Edgecombe?
Yes.
And Councilman Turner?
Yes.
And Councilman Lapine?
Yes. Okay, the suspension passes
7, 1, 2, 3, 4.
6 to 0.
6 to 0.
Okay, now I'll read the resolution. Okay. A resolution establishing the dates and times and places of public hearing on the proposed, let's read this one. A resolution establishing the dates and times and places of public hearings on the proposed 2014 operating budget and on the proposed capital improvement budget covering a period at least 5 years as submitted by the parish president, to authorize the council secretary to place the necessary public notice in the parish gazette pertinent to section 7.02A, section 7.05C of the Charter of Local Self-Government, Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Are you offering, Mr. Griffin?
Yes, with changes.
Offer with changes. And the changes are?
On line 13, add December 4, that's the second and the 4th, 2013, beginning at 9 o'clock a.m. each day, and bell chase. On line 14, we're gonna add library, 8442 Highway 23, bell chase, Louisiana. On line 15, we're gonna add on December the 2nd and the 4th, 16 will be 2013. On line 21, we're gonna scratch out pulpit building, or pulpit. On line 23 rather, sorry, October the 30th, 2013 through, on line 24, November the 29th, 2013, October the 30th, 2013, to November the 29th, 2013. With that, I saw.
Okay, with those changes you offered,
Yeah.
do I have a second?
I'll say it.
Second by Mr. Burris.
October the 30th through, this is with people.
Okay, Mr. Griffin, you offered, it's been seconded by Mr. Burris. Can you give me an explanation?
Oh, this is for the budget hearing
Okay.
and trying to establish some dates and time before the end of the year so we can review the budget and have our self-organized for 2014.
Okay. Any questions from the table? Mr. Turner?
Comment. I've got a 7-7 schedule. My understanding, Mr. Gooey made it known that his only available dates are Thursday and Friday. You know, I've had this schedule almost 28 years now, and this isn't a last-minute deal. If an individual is not out of town, we should be trying to accommodate everybody's schedule. And I don't understand why we couldn't have it beginning on Wednesday, as opposed to doing it on Monday, knowing that I'm not available, knowing Mr. Gooey isn't available. I don't understand what's the crisis that we couldn't wait to at least start it on Wednesday. Whoever came up with these dates, and even this body right here, why are we writing in the 2nd? Do the people here have a problem with starting it Wednesday?
I don't have a problem, Mr. Turner, but my worst days are Thursday and Friday. So I'll be blunt and tell you that that's tough for me. But I
Okay.
understand what
I
you're
got you.
saying. That's my busiest days at my business.
Okay.
So it would affect me. It may not affect Mr. Gooey, it may not affect Mr. That's his Thursday and Friday.
Okay.
I never pick the dates. I'm okay with starting on Monday. If Wednesday I have to do it, I will do it. Thursday, if I have to do it, I will do it. But
Fortunately, Thursday and Friday are the worst days of the week.
worst days for you,
Okay.
that way, okay?
Let me say,
I'm good.
I think that if we would all commit ourselves to meet with finance, one-on-one, as groups or individuals, that we could iron out any issues that we have with the budget. And I feel if we did meet on Wednesday, it would accommodate most people, and we should be able to knock it out in one day. But if we don't make the effort to go meet with finance, then it's not gonna happen in one day, because there's just too many issues that have to be discussed. And I think if it's done appropriately, we could have enough time to where we could inform the public of the changes from last year's budget and any other information. And that on that Wednesday, we could possibly get it done in one day, and it wouldn't bother too many people, and we'd have more council members present.
Correct.
That's what I feel.
So what would the conflict there?
I've got a set 7 and 7 schedule. I'm not available. This is for years.
Oh, no, so what's your schedule there?
And I work from Wednesday to Tuesday. You know, I begin on, like tomorrow, I'll be on for 7 days. And so if we could do it that Wednesday, you know, now I possibly can, you know, look at taking vacation or something. But being that we know the schedule, and again, this is, you know, this is set.
But this, the 4th is a Wednesday.
It would be okay.
Right, but yeah, but the
But
way it is now, it's starting on
The
Monday.
dates are scheduled from
Okay.
Tuesday to the.
No,
fourth.
Monday.
Monday, I'm sorry,
Monday to
from the
Wednesday.
second, I'm trying to say the
Right.
second through the fourth,
Second
which
through-
is Monday through Wednesday.
My
So,
request is that the first day be Wednesday. That's just a request, but it's
well,
up
we
to the
have to,
council.
have to do amendment.
Yeah.
We don't know how that factors into everybody else's.
I mean,
schedules.
vote on, I know.
I mean, I would hope that prior to these dates being selected, that the council chair of the administration would have polled, you know, the rest of the council members, and that this would have been the dates that were best for the majority of the council members.
What day was good for you?
Monday and Tuesday are actually my best 2 days of the week.
And my response was that the end of the week was better for me,
I understand.
but I've already informed the office that I won't be there Monday. But I really, I
Yeah,
understand, Mr.
But
McCarron.
when the email first came out, I responded,
Mhm.
back when it first came out, you know, of the schedule. I just,
So,
that's just, you know, I'm only one individual, but, you know, again, that's a set schedule that I have.
what about if you change the date to 3, to Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday?
Or the following Monday.
Well,
Yeah.
you'd be off the following month.
Right.
If we change the, if we went to December 9th through the 11th, which is still a Monday,
Yeah, and that would still get you to.
and
the
that would,
next
would that
meeting.
still encompass?
Yeah, you would be fine with that as far as getting you to the meetings and everything.
But can we call those who are missing Byron, you know, 'cause somebody might be going out of town, just to call to them?
Ms. Marlar responded that she may be out of town in December,
The whole month.
the whole month.
So the
Correct.
only other person would be
The only other one,
Hinckley
Keith
and Byron.
and Byron.
I wouldn't wanna change it
You know,
if
Byron-
those guys have something, a
Okay,
vacation
well,
or
I
something
mean-
scheduled and they're gone. So call Byron.
You wanna call Byron, wanna take a 5-minute recess?
Yeah.
We'll take a 5-minute recess.
I'm calling Byron.
You calling
Why
Byron?
don't you call Keith? I don't have Keith's number.
I have his number.
I got to keep
Oh,
it.
you don't have?
No.
Okay,
The discussion on the table was to maybe move it. Seems like we can't get a quorum to move it, so we'll vote on, I'll call the vote.
That's the audience.
Hey, you already seconded. Yeah, Anthony seconded. All right, Miss,
Councilman Griffin?
Yes.
Councilman Gooey?
Yep.
Councilman Burris?
Yes.
Councilman Edgecombe?
Yes.
Councilman Turner?
Yes.
Councilman Lapine?
yes.
6 yes, no nos, and 3 absent.
Okay, is there any new business become before this council meeting? Okay, well, under new business.
Of course, I have to read my statement, I have to read every year,
Yeah, take care about that. Yeah, I'll call.
and I read it the last meeting.
Okay,
The administration is pleased to present to the parish council the 2014 proposed operating budget and the 5-year capital budget. As you review this budget during the next few weeks, please contact my office with any questions or suggestions. This will facilitate efficient and effective budget hearings. We look forward to working with the parish council to review this proposed budget for adoption prior to the start of the 2014 fiscal year. And also, again, we look forward to meeting in groups of 3 or individually if you prefer. And my secretary will be calling each and every one of you to set up the dates for that. The administration wasn't in charge of setting up the budget hearing dates, but we will be setting up the individual dates to meet with finance and to facilitate going over the entire budget prior to budget hearings. So if you have any available dates, just contact me at any time and we'll do that.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Costa. Any more new business to come before this council? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. Entertain a motion by Mr. Edgecombe, second by Mr. Griffin. Call the vote.
Councilman Griffin?
Yes.
Councilman Gui?
Yep.
Councilman Burris is absent. Councilman Edgecombe?
Yes.
Councilman Turner?
Yes.
And Councilman Lapine?
Yes. This meeting is adjourned at 5:13. Thank you.
10 p.m., October the 29th, 2013. Ms. Barber, you want to call the roll?
Sure. Councilman Griffin?
Present.
Councilman Lapine?
Here.
Councilman Turner?
Here.
3 councilmen present.
Thank you. Update by Mr. Peoples, internal auditor regarding ongoing audits.
Okay, the first item I have is we previously distributed a schedule of cash disbursements, $5,000 and over through the month of September. That covered approximately $90 million of non-payroll disbursements out of a total of $95 million. So that's about 95% coverage. If anyone wants me to follow, if they have questions or want me to follow up, I'll be glad to do that. The second thing on my list is we have a manpower report for the month of August to distribute. There's a summary on the first page of what's in that report. Again, if there are any questions, we'll be glad to follow up.
The administrative assistant, 15-step. Which position is that? Is that Ellen's, it can't be Ellen's position. So you have the young lady who was the scanner. I think she just got hired on. So coming from scanner, warranting a 15-step increase, that doesn't smell right. If that's the individual, the person was hired as a temp for scanning. So how did they support a 15-step increase?
That would be Lanaya Smith. And I'm not the one that reviewed that, she's not here, but I'll follow up on that.
Okay.
What page on?
You know, what experience are they basing that on? At the very front page.
Very front page, the 15th step right here.
Yeah, what page is her name on here?
I don't know, what, it's civil service, under civil service. Civil service.
Same as the Empire Boatway Lift
Civil service
operator.
on page 10. On page 10. You talking about administrative assistant there?
Yes, the third position.
Merit increase.
Administrative assistants.
So a $4,500 change.
So wasn't she a part-time employee at first?
Right.
Huh?
The scanning clerk, is this, does it show? Doesn't show the hire date on this. The hire date would be listed in the manpower.
On here, but I'll find that out.
Mr. People, that 32,000, that's starting pay for administrative assistant? Or what you know?
If this was a new hire, the 28,000 would be the starting date.
Gave her
She can start today.
$4,500 increase. Yes, she was
But I
new.
don't-
If she was the scanning clerk,
Yeah.
right, she was
Yeah,
new. That was part-time.
Administrative assistant?
Right. But that was a part-time position.
Yeah, but I said, I thought it was a part-time job for the scanner, so.
I'll follow up on that. I'll find out what the qualifications are and when she started, and I'll report back to you.
If the only experience the young lady has is while she was scanning, then I'd like for you to set up a hearing. Tell them I'm challenging it. I want civil service to have. I want to have a hearing, and I want them to explain it. If that's the only experience the young lady has, is the experience that she obtained while she was there as a scanning clerk, then we've got issues.
I think she has a pretty good educational background and maybe
but
previous employment background, but I will
If there's
follow
previous
up.
employment background
I will follow
that's
up and
related to
find
what
out.
we're doing, then that's different.
We can get a copy of the job application or resume.
But still, again, and I'm not sure if that's the individual, but if the individual moved from a part-time scanner and gained her experience right there working in civil service, then to give the 15% increase, then I think there's some favoritism going on. But I need some information.
Well, again, I'll follow
Okay,
up on that.
I've said enough on that then.
All right.
The same as the the Empire boat lift operator. What page would that be on? Civil service.
On page 13. So we can operate the second one from the top.
Mr. Peep, what are the numbers on the side? See the 15 in brackets? What does that represent?
It was right underneath that. That just explains what the increase was. Exceptional qualifications, 12-step increase.
Okay.
So the first number is what they actually was making, and then,
The first number is what
Then
they
the
were
change.
making at the end of
Change
July,
is,
and then there's a change that shows what they were making at the end of August.
the change.
Right. And those are annual salary numbers based on 2,080 hours. That would not include any overtime.
Well, 15 steps.
I'll be happy to follow up on all three of those and let you know what I find out. And
Okay.
in future reports, I'll bring that documentation with me so that I'll have an explanation for it.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item I have is there's been a request to summarize on one schedule the vacant positions. And so I've got a schedule of that.
Steve, let's go back to this brother's position.
Sure.
Sure that the position was paying 25,000. long this guy been employed with the parish, you know? Did they say?
Again, we can go back and look that information up. I don't have it with me.
I would think it has to be within 6 months. Because the only way you get the exception of pay, you get it under two circumstances. One, or really, you can get it within that first 6 months, right? And they have to submit the paperwork prior to the probation period ending. And the other time, you can get exceptional pay if you get a job offer elsewhere, then we have the opportunity of matching it. But when you see exceptional pay, that's a new hire within 6 months.
Generally, yes.
And so the question becomes, what experience did they bring to the table that would warrant, a 15% raise? And in that case, what's the dollar amount, Mr. Griffin?
Even with this, a welder, I mean, here you're talking about somebody probably going to school and then certifying themselves to do what they're doing. And I'm looking at this $25,000 salary, so what do they compare that with? If you go somewhere else to get a welder job, you're looking at $30,000 a year. And here we paying $29,000, even with the 15% rate. The guys already underpaid for it, son.
But
Yeah.
that,
The
yeah,
beginning
yeah, but
salary is the salary that was initially set, I guess, by the.
Audit study, right. So, but if we're gonna take that approach, then everybody who comes in, we can say they're underpaid, and we automatically give them a 15%. So then it's no longer based on the additional skills, not the basic skills that you bring. This is exceptional pay. And so, if that's the case, then everybody who comes in, we just say, if we think you're being paid too low, let's just give everybody a 15% raise right off the bat.
Well, I was thinking a 15% raise, but you're looking at being realistic. That's why we can't keep people, because we don't pay them nothing. And that's why I think that study, I don't know what kind of study you ought to get before with this,
Orchard study?
Audit study. Even if they implemented any of that audit study.
It was implemented.
They didn't.
It was.
It was implemented. Even with the audit study, is this the numbers that came out of the audit study? It was a waste of money for somebody to tell you what you already know. Number one, we already underpaying people. And the reason why a lot of people stay here is because they live here. And that's why they work for this little bit of money. If they can go somewhere else, trust me, we'd be looking for some new employees every day. But we need to have some kind of study that's going to justify the money we need to pay people. We got people working around here that's qualified for food stamps. And that's pitiful. When we need to be paying our people better than what we pay them. We waste a lot of money and a lot of everything when we could be paying the people that take care of this parish. Without those guys out there cutting your grass, this place looks like a jungle. Without the guys that's fixing your water line, you'd be up the creek trying to get water in your house. And that's the underpaid people. People making $8, $9 out. That's underpaid people. So we need to do better than what we're doing for it.
I agree with you, Mr. Griffin, but I don't think this is something we discussed with Mr.
No, it's
This is
not.
something we discussed with Mr. Paradellis, and we better find a better way of getting a system to upgrade some of these positions. It is pitiful, some of these prices, but, I think it's below minimum wage or close to minimum wage.
Bill Paradellis is required to do a study every year. And shame on him for us to still be where we are. That's the bottom line. So he gets a free pass. But he's responsible for doing a study, reviewing the pay plan every year.
Well, I think it's incumbent on us as council people to make sure we do his job.
Okay.
So if we haven't done it, it's because we neglected to make
But right,
him do it.
I understand what you're saying, but I think this is not in
I know,
Mr. Peoples'
it's
field.
not.
He's
It might
reporting.
not be, but Mr. Peep is still an auditor for this parish.
You're right.
He's gonna give us the numbers to make us make better decisions, hopefully.
Well,
And I think possibly one other reason for the exceptional increases would be something like Mr. Griffith mentioned, that they just have trouble hiring anybody at the low rates that
You're
are
right,
there.
you're right.
And they have to give them that increase in order to fill the position.
well,
You spend months trying to fill the position and the pay's just too low, you can't fill it, then under the rules we have now, they have to give the exceptional qualification increase to fill the position.
But my
also
concern
they need
is,
to- they need to review
are
the
we
position
picking
to
and
see if the
choosing?
starting pay needs
But
to
are
be
we
higher.
picking and choosing who we giving that to? You know, and again, I go back to the civil service administrative position. And so, if we giving everybody, if we think all of our people coming in too low, and we're gonna give them all of them exceptional pay, then that's fine. If we're doing that to keep them, but let's not pick and choose then. And also, when you talk about pay, Mr. Griffin, we had an opportunity, you know, with the cost of living raise. Right now, we only giving, the council approved, giving a cost of living raise to everybody if you're gonna give it, and yet the council went back and took that away.
Right.
And now we're gonna talk about being concerned about our people being underpaid? You're right, look in the mirror, this council, we've done it. And we only giving, if you're unclassified, you get a cost of living raise. The classified don't get the cost of living raise. They get a performance raise.
But so we gotta come with some kind of plan, you know, and that's gonna be beneficial to everybody.
For one, we can go back to, if you're gonna give a cost of living raise, you give it to everybody. We're getting ready to do budget hearings, that cost of living raise, they will automatically put it in there, and we should make sure that it's in there for everybody. Other than that, then we're being hypocritical.
Okay, let's move on to the schedule of vacant positions. The schedule shows vacant positions by department as of August the 31st. And it also shows the date that the positions became vacant. Obviously, this is a moving target. There's 70 positions on the schedule totaling about $1,900,000. 13 of those positions were filled in September.
I'm about to say, when I'm sure somebody's outdated,
Right.
because I mean, we have a council secretary now.
Right, but it is a moving target. It's hard to keep up with exactly what it is, but
But this was as of August 31st.
this is as of August the 31st.
Okay.
But I would bet that you're looking under flood control, one position way back, supervisor position since 2011. If you can't find a supervisor since 2011, then don't keep the money in the budget that you can shift later. Mr. Peoples, I don't know if it would be you or the council secretary who's the best person to help us with this, but we've shifted a lot of money this year from one budget to the other, and that's because it's padded. There was money there to do it. And so, and my concern is, we've pulled the money saying that it's not needed, right? And yet, will they budget that same amount again this coming year? And then we're just gonna gloss over it and not challenge it. The budget book needs to be accurate. So so my specific question with this, as with the vacancies, you've got one since 2011. Why hasn't it been filled? If we're not gonna fill it, then let's remove the funding.
You got one in 2010.
I'm not sure, I think, and I might be speaking out of turn, but I think that Roy Myers has addressed that. And I thought that they addressed all the non-vacant things on the performance, I think they pulled them out, because they had.
No.
What they do is twice a year, they look at the positions that, where they didn't pay any money out on those positions,
right.
and
But
they
they
take care of
keep-
the budget at that
Up to
time.
that point, yet they keep it in for the remainder of the year. You know, and so, no, we're not being straight with the budget.
Yeah.
If we're not gonna fill the position, if the administration isn't gonna fill the position, because I remember one time Bill Paradellis, you know, I think submitted maybe about 40 names and we didn't hire anybody. And so if we're gonna keep the positions in the budget, then unfund them.
I understand.
And that's our responsibility, and we've been allowing this to go on.
I'll discuss that with Lori, try to see if we can get an answer for that. I thought that that's what they were doing, but I'll verify.
Let's find out and get back with it.
I think the individual departments would need to justify those positions and why they keep those positions in the budget.
Foreman position, public right-of-way maintenance since 2010 hadn't been filled. Now, with all the workers, you mean to tell me we can't find a foreman? With all of our works, if we can, it's because we don't want to find a foreman. We should be able to pull somebody from the workforce and move them up into that position, if we're serious. Since 2010. If we don't need the position, remove it.
And that's one of the reasons we have the vacancy date on there, so you can evaluate.
Right, you're giving us the information for us to do something with it, but as a council, we have failed to act. How do we allow this to go on this long? And my fear is, budget hearing is coming up, and we're gonna do the same thing. This has to change.
And Mr. Lapine asked for a list of take-home vehicles, so I'm passing that out now. And just to summarize, this is a list of passenger-type vehicles, pickup trucks, SUVs, automobiles, would not include the larger vehicles such as ambulances and fire trucks and other large vehicles. The finance department takes an inventory of all these vehicles in the month of November. So this schedule is dated November of 2012, which is the last time the inventory was taken. However, they have attempted to adjust it for any additions or deletions that have taken place during the year. So it should be fairly accurate. And what it's showing is approximately 260 passenger vehicles total, of which 160 are designated as available for take-home. That doesn't necessarily mean they are being taken home.
Where's that? Is that in here anywhere?
Take home is.
That's just my count.
Yeah, take home, yes or no, so.
I was just wondering if you had the totals. I was wondering if you was
You have
reading.
to total that up, I
I
guess.
counted right before the meeting. And 18 of the 160 are actually taken home outside of the parish.
There's some old vehicles listed on here.
There are a lot of them.
Do we have a maintenance sheet to see what these vehicles are costing us to maintain?
One of my contentions is probably not just the maintenance issues, but also they're probably vehicles we don't need to have at all. Because the mileage is so low on those vehicles, they're hardly being used at all. And when if the person needed to use a vehicle, they could use their own vehicle and charge mileage.
Here's one that's 2008, got 14,000 miles on it. Vehicle mileage, no, 50,000.
Well, why are we constantly buying new vehicles then?
I
If we
think-
got someone like 14,000 miles on it, regardless of the year, you know, it could be a 1970. If it's got 14,000 miles, it's pretty much a new engine.
I couldn't agree more. I've never had a parish vehicle. I think we have way too many parish vehicles.
Yeah, I like to study the list and go through it and examine it.
Everybody got a take home.
Okay, but this is almost a year old, right?
Right.
I mean, it.
But we still have most of those vehicles. My understanding
So
is,
we
Plus-
have added.
the ones we
Plus
got-
some newer ones.
Like I'm saying, we have
Right.
added some vehicles since then.
well,
Give
that
to us
list
that-
has been updated through approximately the end of July. So you're gonna see vehicles purchased toward the end of last year and through July of this year. And they're gonna show 0 mileage on it because the finance department hasn't had a chance to.
But we would see the
review
year.
those vehicles and record the
Right,
mileage yet.
but we would see the year on it.
Right.
And so this report will be coming out in November also?
Well, they'll do the work in November.
Do the work?
report will come out probably sometime in December.
Okay.
And at the same time, they ask the people to report their personal mileage, and they use IRS formulas to decide how much personal income to put on their W-2s for the personal use of parish vehicles.
Okay.
Why would a parish employee have to use a parish vehicle for personal use?
Sometimes the work vehicle, like if they're moving them down to Venice and they move them as a group, so they carpool, do it as a group. I know that's one way it's being used.
Because I know they fired a guy for using a parish vehicle for his personal use about 2 months ago.
Okay, I'm not,
You know, so why would you tell me that they gotta report personal use, and they're gonna fire a guy for using the parish vehicle for personal use on weekends?
Well, that's not very consistent either.
that's a good
That's
point.
consistent
I didn't
because
follow where
there-
you were going with that, but that's right. If you have
There
a
are
means of,
people
of
that-
taking the pay from him, of the fuel from him, the mileage from him, but then again, it's an unauthorized, maybe it's because it was just an unauthorized use.
For his personal use though, and he just said that they can file, what, a 1099 form, you said? What form you said they can file?
It's a part of the W-2 form, which reports their income, they have
Unless the guy doesn't
additional
have
income
drugs,
for personal use of parish vehicles.
that shouldn't be an unauthorized use of a parish vehicle unless you out there committing a crime. But if I'm using a parish vehicle to haul some furniture from point A to point B, and I'm authorized personal use, why am I terminated from my job?
Well, because we authorize you to take the vehicle home, right? But we don't authorize it to be used as a U-Haul because of the liability to the parish. You get an accident, the parish vehicle. Right, but no, that's limited. Just because we let you take it home, you know, we don't want the parish vehicle parked at Boomtown, personal
Well,
use.
Right.
You know, and so,
That kind of stuff.
right, so they are, just because we say, you know, personal use, you're able to deduct that mileage, there are some, it's still a parish vehicle, and its primary purpose is to be used for parish business.
There shouldn't be no personal use.
Okay.
Because regardless, on a weekend, if he out there doing something for himself, we still out. If you use a vehicle on a weekend, we still out, so there shouldn't be no personal use. You know, that
I'm good.
You can go to point B, but you from your house to your job, from your job to your house.
One example of personal use of a parish vehicle would be the civil service director. Under IRS regulations, commuting is personal use. And
Well-
he takes his vehicle and drives to Port Sulphur and comes back. That's commuting, that's personal use.
No, wait, no, not while he's on a job.
No, that is personal use. And if
Personal
he
use.
goes from place to place on the job, then that's business use. But the IRS considers commuting to and from your job to be personal use.
To and from your job.
Right.
Right, okay, when you said Port Sulphur, going to Port Sulphur, I'm thinking, civil service director, does he live in the parish?
No,
Okay,
he lives in Jefferson Parish.
so he lives in Jefferson Parish,
Right.
right? A lot of these parishes, if you don't live in the parish, you can't even work there, but as a government, we give him the vehicle, we pay the gas, he should pick up his vehicle here, when he comes inside the parish. Anybody wanna make that a hard and fast rule? We have the authority, or we can continue to talk about it. You know, either we let it go on, or we act on it. But let's not say it's a problem and do nothing.
It needs
Well, I
to
wanna
be more
examine this
consistent.
list first. I wanna
Okay,
look
I'm just
at it.
saying.
Right, and I wanna
But,
see if there's more offenders, not just one.
I know, for example, Lori in finance is very strict about not allowing personal use of vehicles. Some departments are not very strict at all, and from what I understand, there's some vehicles, there's some people that have parish vehicles that don't own another vehicle. So
You know
so
why
they
they
have a
don't
lot
own
of personal
I'll
use.
give you a good example. I was with the Plaquemines Parish Sheriff's Department for 11 years.
Mhm.
They gave me a car every 3 or 4 years. So why should I go buy a car?
Right.
You know, so.
Now, they're not
And that's
under
the same way-
Plaquemines Parish government, so I don't know
But
what
as
their
a-
rules are. But there are people within the government that do the same thing.
I'm
They have
giving
a
you a
parish
car to ride
vehicle
around
and they don't own a personal
That's a car
vehicle.
note. Why you won't pay a car note when you got a free car?
But as a government, the question is that how we wanna operate? And so give it some thought, and I'll leave it at
That's
that.
something
And
that
if you're
you think about.
disciplining
Yeah, I wanna
certain
think
people
about it, and I wanna go
for,
over the list and just see, that's why.
if you're disciplining certain people for unauthorized personal use and you're not disciplining other people,
That's wrong.
that's not fair either.
That guy got a lawsuit, I think Mr. Palazzo, that guy got a good lawsuit. So,
Okay, thank you. Let's move on. All right.
All right.
yes, sir.
Coming from another parish and all, do we have a take-home vehicle policy? I mean, an actual policy that states what are the requirements, what are, the criteria set, who can take it, if it's pool cars? What, do y'all have an established policy
I
at
don't
all?
think so, huh?
Do we have one, Mr.
No.
Palazzo?
I'm not 100% sure.
I don't know of any. I think it's judgmental decided by the individual
I'll check.
department heads.
I'll check.
I'm in the
I know
audit
for
meeting.
the sake, you know, I've come from public employment outside the Surgeon Water Board of Laws. We had a direct policy, who could take it, if, you know, and the policy spelled out for the supervisor, did not put him in the bind to try to keep up with the other supervisors, that the criteria is set in your plan. The city of New Orleans, city of Jefferson Parish, all of those have take-home vehicle policies. And that should be something I find that is not.
Every department that has a vehicle, Mr. Lawrence, they should know that policy. If they're allowing somebody to take it home, you know, the administration that's overseeing and managing those vehicles, they should know the policy, and the people under them should know that policy.
But if this council don't set the policy for the administration,
Well, that should be set.
it's your fault.
Well, wait a while, my assumption is that it's set. If it's not, and the
well,
administration,
where is the policy that sets it?
we'd have to look it up. But I would assume that there's a policy. Now, if there's not a policy, then what is the administration, you know, you can ask me about a lot of things, right? And I would have to go and verify. I'd have to go and look it
I
up.
mean,
And so in this case here, I'd have to look up, Mr. Russo, you know what it is? Or do we have one?
Some of the ordinances in the past.
Right.
You might find a new guidance.
I can't believe you're sitting here and you don't know what the policy is.
It don't, because I never knew of it.
No, wait a
Well,
while.
it seems like, you know, that
No,
you're
wait.
not gonna cure it unless you set the law to what the policy is. If you say nobody can take a vehicle out the parish, I don't care if it's the president, he can't take a take-home vehicle out the parish,
Right.
That's the way we walk. If I lived out the parish, I was the superintendent. I could not take a vehicle outside. It wasn't up to the Surgeon Water Board. The board set that policy.
Right, but if you have a business purpose outside the parish,
Oh,
then
if
that
you
would be
going out
okay.
of the parish on business, at that time you could take it. If you live outside the parish, you could not take that vehicle home. You could take it to the parish line, to the closest facility at the parish line, leave that car there, and take your vehicle to home. All our supervisors and everything, if you happen to live across the lake, you didn't take that vehicle across the lake. And I'm saying, that was a policy, we need to set a policy.
Mr. Palazzo, can you check?
Mike,
I will check on that, and, you know, I think I'd like to talk to y'all individually about maybe some other options that might save us some money.
Okay.
I think if you would look at other, don't try to create the wheel.
Right,
But look at what people are doing in other public agencies, on how they're controlling it, and how much, I don't know how much these employees pay.
They don't pay anything.
They do have to pay something for tax, I mean, they should.
They do.
By the law.
Personal use.
by the,
But
that's,
How much
that's,
are they paying?
but
Are they
that's
paying the
self-reported.
distance?
What they do is they get that added value on their 1099, so they're not paying anybody except the IRS is.
Right, they're paying tax on it.
Exactly.
They're
So
paying
nobody's
tax on
getting
it.
paid other than the IRS.
Right.
Okay.
There's no,
Unless-
I thought there
unless
was a
something has
policy that you, if you wanted to bring your car home, you had to pay. So much was taken out of your check every month.
No, that's for the IRS.
That's for the IRS.
It might be in the sheriff's department. I don't know that it's for this government. I haven't seen the
Well, we
policy.
need to try to research.
I'm
We'll
looking
look-
at it.
Personally,
the administration will look it up.
Personally, it makes
We'll
sense
look it
to
up.
me if an employee has to go from job to job, never knows what his job site is gonna be, it makes sense to have a take-home vehicle. But if he goes to the same location every day, if his office is in one place,
That's it.
why does he need a personal vehicle, a parish vehicle?
That's correct.
Well, check on that and get back with us, so we could.
That would cut a lot of them.
Establish some, kind of guidelines. 'Cause you know, that's gas, that's extra gas that's being put in that stuff, we gotta pay for. Tax dollars, that could be used for something else. Mr. People.
Not to mention the cost of the vehicle when you go
Well,
to buy it.
The
It's,
insurance.
it would be, the insurance, it would be a lot cheaper
The nine, the whole 9 yards.
for people to charge mileage for whatever their business purpose is.
Mr. People, do you have anything else?
The only other thing that I have is, someone had asked for the FEMA Ultimate Projects list, and I understand from Jens that he's already distributed that.
Yeah.
I see that.
But if anybody needs a copy, I have it.
I'd
Can I
like
have
a
one,
copy.
please?
Mr. Russo, need a copy? Mr. Attorney, need a copy?
Okay, the only other thing I have is this last, sure.
On this the adjustments that were made and the dollars that were swapped, do you know if they balanced out, for instance, when they were NFIP reducing the playground in Ironton, or some $1 million project that they switched and they finally admitted and moved it to another category? Do you know by all of those switches that it balanced out?
No, I don't. That would be a question for Jens with All South.
I mean, wouldn't it be advisable, maybe you could take a look at that to see what the numbers really meant when they switched the numbers? Because it's amazing to me that we went for several years with charges being charged for the NFIP reduction to playgrounds and facilities that we know never got the dollars.
Mhm.
And then when we push on to get a final list, this is what we get. But it doesn't really balance anywhere in my mind. You follow me?
Could we have, Jen at the next council meeting, Ms. Walker?
Next.
I mean, next audit meeting,
Sure.
so you could explain what's going on.
Maybe we should have him go to the next council meeting, that way the whole council can hear it.
That would be a bad.
As a request from the audit committee, have him come and explain all.
At the next council meeting.
Yeah, make a request.
Okay, my last item, Mr. Turner has under new business, discussion regarding the grass cutting contract, and I have a copy of the contract. And I checked with the accounts payable department today. They have not received any invoices to date, although I understand one cut has been done, but we haven't paid any bills or received any invoices from this company.
And do we know what that one cut is gonna cost us?
Yeah, I think you do know.
What?
That's part of their bid package. I can't tell you the exact amount right now.
And did they complete that cut? I know,
I'm not 100% sure if they did or not. But, so I don't know if they 100%, I don't understand that, the way that works. I thought that they had 4 cuts, I was told today, because I was asked.
wasn't that what was the amount of that contract?
$195.
Okay, right at 200,000
That's for 11 cuts.
Yes, that's correct.
for 11 cuts.
For 11 cuts.
6, 8, 10, 11, yeah.
Technically, they were the only legitimate bidder. I saw Mr. Fortmeyer at a breakfast, and I told him about it, because I knew he cuts grass. And he told me, he said, Leo, I'll bid, and I'll try to cut in as much as I can. Because I said, look, man, we're trying to get local people to bid. And he said, I'll bid, but I know I'm not going to be able to outbid any big boys. I said, well, just go ahead and bid, because you never know. And he came at around $600,000, but he didn't have the bond to back him up. I spoke to another gentleman, I can't think of his name, apparently he cuts grass too, and he said he was gonna bid. Andy Boudreaux, he said he was gonna bid, but he didn't want to put up the $10,000 to get the bond, so he didn't bid. But he told me, I asked him, I told him what the bid was, the only real successful bid, and he said, man, I thought I was gonna be cheap at $600,000. I could, no way I could touch this guy at $195. No way.
Okay, and I guess a concern I have, and let's see what sheet it is. One, what caught my attention, made me call Mr. Peoples, is I noticed the parish tractors were cutting. And so I'm saying, okay, I thought we paid somebody to do this. No problem, you know, if the parish is doing it, because that still lowers our cost. That's a good thing. That's not a bad thing, you know, and I welcome that. If they're being paid, you know, per cut and it's prorated, okay. Well then, okay, I just wanted to understand that piece. So whenever we can cut it, that saves us money. That's not bad, right? But when I look at this sheet here with all of the vacancies, and when I look at where the vacancies are, you know, a lot of them are in heavy equipment. I'm seeing some tractor 2 drivers, 1, 2, 3. It was just concerning me as to whether or not, you know, if we did have the proper manpower, whether or not we would even have to pay the outsiders to do any cutting. But if we're getting a good rate on it, and they only cut when we can't, where it's just being supplemented, okay, that might not be a bad thing.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't, you know, when they told me, those local guys, when they told me, man, they can't compete, this guy's so inexpensive.
And so our guys are cutting it, that's saving us money, that's a good thing.
Yes, they're
That's-
cutting as
okay.
much as they can.
I just don't want our guys cutting and they get paid.
No, no, sir. No, sir.
The cost per cut is $17,786 under this contract. So if you take
Okay.
the 195 and divide it by 11, that's the number you get. And if they do cuts in addition to the 11, that's what they're gonna charge for each cut is $17,786. One of the questions I've always had about this is that this is a state highway. The state is responsible for it. And I understand they're paying us some amount of money to cut it, but it doesn't come close to
And
covering
if
the
they're not
cost.
paying enough, then,
It's outrageous.
okay, then
And then the other,
up the ante.
and from what I understand, the reasons for doing it ourselves rather than having the state do it was we didn't think the state was cutting it off often enough. And then secondly, we wanted the jobs to remain local. But apparently under this contract, it's outside people doing the work.
That's
But
one.
That would eliminate that reason.
Can't the parish request supplement from the state under this highway tax law from gasoline tax or something? Track, you know, for 18-wheeler transportation?
Well, the state is already paying something to the parish for cutting the grass. I don't know what that number is.
It's $91,000 every 6 months, a total of about 182 and change. I mean,
So it doesn't come close to covering the cost.
no way. I mean, especially to me speaking to the local cutters, they laughed when I told them. They laughed. They said that's like 1/10 of what needs to be.
Right. I actually had a gentleman come to my shop and said he couldn't even touch that.
No.
So I think, can I comment? I think the point that Bert was making, that you fill the positions, you know, you probably save
Right.
a lot of money to keep it cut. You know, because the state, the $180,000 or $90,000 just for contracting out, you're already behind the 8 ball, and that's just for one scenario.
The person's salary might be $20,000 a year. That's based on $10 an hour. So if we hire, and then we get so many benefits because they're spending the money locally. And so it's better for us to just employ our local people. And we need to make an effort to do that. I'll leave it at that.
Any more new business before the council?
Yes. I just wanted to address the audit committee. I don't even know if this is the proper place to do it, but I was looking at the borrow pit ordinance. And the borrow pit ordinance required the Department of Zoning and Permits to retain an independent qualified engineer as of the first of the year. And I noticed that his job would be also to make sure that we're collecting the proper taxes and everything per ton or per yard of dirt that's hauled out these borrow pits. And my question, couldn't track it, is who's tracking it? What money are we getting? Are we getting any money? Has the engineer ever been hired? Do they have any intent to hire?
Mr. Peeper, can you answer that?
Let me narrow it down. Let me join in. I guess my first question is, one that I think you can track down or investigate, is have we received, is it a 3%? I think we're supposed to receive, according to the ordinance, 3% per yard or whatever that amount is. Have we received, for the dirt that has been moved in the parish, have we received any compensation based on our ordinance?
And it's also required an annual permit fee that is required for them to submit. And I know it's not up yet, but if they don't have anybody tracking it already, what's gonna happen when the anniversary of this comes up? And, you know, there's permit fees for the sand pit, there's a sand pit operating, there's no one to even, I can't find a permit on the sand pit.
Mr. Lawrence, I think I spoke to some of the council members, Mr. Nungesser, and knowing that article, I told them, we need somebody. We don't have the expertise in the permit department. It's gonna have to be maybe an engineering firm. We're gonna have to do an ordinance to get out there.
I don't think we need a firm, but, because to track down the sales, we should be able to track down the sales. I mean, if you pay somebody minimum wage, I mean, we should be able to track what's going on in these pits.
Charged on all borrow pit mud, whether it's going on the levees, no matter where it's going. They've been hauling mud out like crazy. I'm questioning as a citizen saying, are we charging that? Who is
Right.
actually, are they just, and I'm not blaming the companies doing it. If we're not enforcing it, if we haven't, you know, I don't know if there's a.
That's something for Mr. Palazzo to take up with the administration, being at the hearing, right?
I'll look at it, because that's something, I definitely agree with you.
That sounds good.
We need some clarity there.
Anything,
That's just a separate fee that's set by council ordinance? That's not a
Council
sales
ordinance,
tax
the bar
or
pit,
anything?
the bar pit ordinance.
Okay.
okay.
The sales tax, I don't know if it's been addressed.
Well, yeah, the sales tax is 5 cents per yard.
No, but I mean,
No.
I don't know anybody's,
Is anybody collecting it?
I don't know.
Well, I guess the question is has anybody, what has been collected from Plaquemines during, all of the pits, the pit owners and pit operators, you know, what have they moved? And that's where we need to do an audit. They tried to talk us out of it and say that we can't do it, the sales tax, yes, I'm told we can do that. You know, we need to know.
Because it also says that the report shall be forwarded to the sales tax division, the DPC, and the parish council. And it's never been reported.
We're gonna blame Miss Barbara. I don't know why she's not doing it.
My husband blames me for everything, so.
And I didn't know if that was supposed to come to y'all here, or do we go to the council with this? But
I think he goes before the council and let them look at it and then probably come back to us.
But Mr. Peoples, our internal auditor should initiate it. We the audit, so
Sounds like
he
it's
should.
supposed to be collected by the sales tax department, and they have auditors that are supposed to ensure that that's happening.
no, the engineer is supposed to certify that it's happening. That's the way the ordinance is written. And they report to
We need to go over that with
sales
Mr.
tax.
Peoples.
But he knows he's supposed to verify how much mud they took out of a pit. I mean, forget where it's going to. He's still charged, and there's that other road fee, that if they're
Right,
transmitting
that
it on
3%.
road charges.
But that's where, that's the duty of the administration. You know, it's not the duty of the council to police that.
The council wrote the law, but
Right,
if the
it's the
administration's
duty
not
of the,
following the law,
that's right.
then what happens?
It's the duty of the administration. Well, if the administration,
Tell us at the next meeting if they did or not.
you know, and maybe the administration wasn't aware, and that's why, you know, I'm glad to hear Mr. Palazzo, not to bash the administration, but, you know, some oversight, but now that it's been brought up, the ultimate responsibility to make sure that it's happening is the administration. When it gets brought to our attention, and we have our internal auditor do an audit and see whether or not, confirm whether or not it's happening. And then if it's not happening, then it's the job of the council. That's where you have that conversation with the administration. If the administration refuses to do it, that's where we take action in filing a mandamus, which forces the administration to do it. That's the procedure, isn't that correct?
But I think what we have.
Not that we have to go that route, but if it doesn't happen, shame on us.
So what we have to do though, according to those guidelines, is we're gonna have to hire
Right, oh, there's no
an
question.
engineer, somebody competent, and y'all gonna have to put up money for this person's salary to do that. And I don't think you can hire some average person.
But
I think,
You gotta be certified.
you're gonna
Wait a
have
while
to-
now.
You're gonna have
You
some
got-
other qualifications, because it's more than just.
I'm
doing
talking
that.
checking the loads going out, just like you have an all-south
I
monitor.
think it's more than that.
No,
Okay.
independent engineer, and they don't say it may, it says they shall
Well, we'll
hire a private engineer.
We gotta get an ordinance in place, and we're gonna have to probably.
Look at the
I don't know
legis-
if you'll pay for it, what you collect on
Let's
here.
do this. Mr. Palazzo, once you look into that.
Right.
And Mr. Peters, look into the other income, and at our next meeting,
I'll be happy to
Let's
draft
bring
an
us,
ordinance for y'all to introduce the next council
Next
meeting, but I think we're gonna have to get, put it out for bid.
okay.
Look at the legislation and see what the administration should be doing right now, and what are the restrictions, what's preventing you from doing what you're supposed to be doing. And if there's something that's preventing you from doing what you're supposed to be doing that requires action on our part, then we'll do that.
Yes, sir, and that's, in my opinion, and I've brought it to the attention of some of the councilmen already, and the administration, in my opinion, we don't have the qualifications, we don't have the employees. We need a qualified engineer to go out there and make sure that they're doing the right things, that they're digging the right levels, that they're digging the right material, that they're distributing that material exclusively for the levees.
But that's not the question that he was asking about. He was asking about the dirt moved. I mean, you can have almost Joe Blow off the street, look at the truck, just like All South is doing, and take a picture of every load that moves. They've got their,
But are you gonna have
Okay, I'm
an
done.
employee sitting at every barrel pit? I mean, that's not very practical.
And, you
well,
know,
compared to what you're gonna
just-
pay an engineering
Just to clear
firm.
it up to read it, that the TPZ shall retain an independent qualified.
I need to read over.
Civil engineer on a contract consulting basis to monitor, report, and certify in writing back to the DPC and the council. They're not saying hire a new man, they're saying they got a contract out.
With a firm.
Now, if this thing was passed in January, and we haven't solicited a contract evidently, because that's the only avenue as a citizen I can go to if I have a complaint, I'm supposed to go back to this independent engineer.
Right.
We can't do that unless we have funding for that.
So, Mr. Palacio, I want you to, look at that and tell us what we have to do.
Okay, I understand.
So if there's nothing else to bring before this audit committee, entertain a motion for this.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
There's a motion by Mr. Lapine that we adjourn,
I second it.
second by Mr. Turner. Ms. Barber, do roll call, please.
Councilman Griffin,
Yes.
Councilman Lapine,
Yes.
Councilman Turner, to adjourn.
Yes.
That is your,